Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1501 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Monday evening into Tuesday. And this is actually part 2 of 2 with my friend Tyler Jones, fan favorite of the podcast. If you missed part 1, I encourage you to start there. It should be in your podcast feed right now. You're about to listen to part 2 of the show, talking about the state of the Hawks and the draft and free agency upcoming, trade stuff, etc. with Tyler. Always fun to catch up with him on anything with regard to this Hawks team. Please follow the show on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter if you would like to. Subscribe to the podcast. Importantly, make us your first listen each and every day on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. And after the intro, I'll be back with myself and Tyler Jones with part 2 of this conversation.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Let's talk about some prospects other than Dereck Lively. So it's the draft. It's draft week. I know you have opinions. You mentioned your top 7 or 8. Are you kind of where everybody else is in general? Like, is there anybody that you just don't like at all?
Unfortunately,
okay, that's fine because we can move down because look, barring a big swing trade that I don't really see coming, there are probably 7 or 8 guys you can cross off for the Hawks, like big swing trade. I mean, like getting up into the top 7, probably. Yeah. Obviously, Victor's not available. Scoot, Miller, probably the Thompsons, Cam Whitmore are like really off the table. Maybe you get a sliding Taylor Hendricks to like 10, maybe something like that.
I will say Taylor Hendricks, I'm lower on, primarily because. You know, it's funny. I listened to the podcast you did with Ben and John on the Read and React podcast earlier.
Yeah, fun chat.
And like, it's funny because you guys were talking about how Jarris Walker was more or less doing too much with the ball in his hands at Houston, whereas Taylor Hendricks was just a pure 3-and-D guy. He wasn't a pure, but like his role, he was basically the ideal role player. And like, to me, especially in the lottery, I'm not interested in role players.
Well, and that's the philosophy.
I got no problem with the guy experimenting. He's like, Jarris Walker's 18, 19. Like, it's college basketball. Them wins don't matter. Like, yeah.
And I
don't care about wins or losses. I need somebody who's gonna try to be the best basketball player they can. I'm not a fan of guys who pigeonhole, like, and it's not their fault, like who are pigeonholed into a role and don't try to expand their game while they're playing lower level competition. Like, it's, to me, because if this is what, like, if for Taylor Hendricks, if this is the box you're gonna stay in, then you got to be a shooter. Like, you got to be a shooter, and your defense got to be. Like, your defense got to be Jaren Jackson Jr. good. And I don't think it's that. Like, and I'm not that. I'm one of the lower people on Jaren Jackson's defense just because of the rebounding factor. And, like, Taylor Hendricks smaller than that guy. Smaller than Jaren, I mean. I'm like, there's to me, Taylor, like, I like Taylor more where he was initially going to go before he because he was really good in his role. That's the thing. He was really good in his role. And so, like, there is some value in that, and maybe there's some untapped upside if you get him on a bad team to let him experiment a bit more. But it's kind of like he and Jabari Smith kind of have the same issue to me, where it's like, if this is your box, like, it's just, if it doesn't work, what's your plan B? You know, like, can you do something else outside of like the standardized role of an ideal fit? Because basketball, these kids, like, these basketball players aren't robots. Like, it's a free-flowing sport. So you got to be able to do something else. And, like, Taylor kind of, like, I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I'm just saying, if you're telling me right now he's going to tap out as a 14-point per game scorer on low usage, and then defensively he's like, he kind of is like what John Collins is right now as a defender, that's a good player. Very. But I kind of want more from, especially from a prospect if I'm drafting in the top 10.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
It does, and that's honestly why I'm a little. It's philosophy, but I'm a little bit lower on him than some. I've seen some really aggressive Taylor Hendricks takes, like the people like see stardom for him. I don't really see that. I see a very good role player, which the debate could be like where that guy should go in the draft, because you're right. There's a school of thought that like with a pick that high, you want to swing a little bit more. Or you could look at the history of drafts and say, okay, is this a good outcome at number whatever slot it is in the draft? And I get all sides of that. But you're right. I think there's a certain level. Obviously, if he fell to the Hawks, that'd be an absolute steal of a pick. Absolutely. Like you do it. But and he's not going to fall that far. But yeah, there's those rough tiers. So we'll skip those guys for now for the most part. I'll ask you this. I'm sure you have in your mind your kind of best case scenario. We'll start positive. Your best case Hawks scenarios. Either stay at 15 or maybe like a small trade up, something realistic. Who are you rooting for?
The Hawks trade DeAndre Hunter.
Oh no,
they trade up.
Other than that,
to take Anthony Black with whatever pick they need to take with Anthony Black.
Oh, I like Anthony Black too.
I love Anthony Black's game, Brad. Like that, you want to talk about. And you know what? The comp came to me when I was walking around my apartment complex. The comp came to me. I was like, people because people are making like Josh Giddey comparisons. I get it. Because I mean, big point guard, passer type. I mean, he's a much better athlete. I don't see that. Like, I hear the Lonzo,
and defender too.
Yeah. And then I hear the Lonzo comparisons, which makes sense. Except like Anthony Black gets to the rim. Like he gets to the rim, Brad. Like he played on an Arkansas team that couldn't shoot,
space,
no shooting. He's not a particularly good shooter either. Nobody respects his jumper, but he still lived at the rim and the free throw line for a good Arkansas team. Like was their offensive leader pretty much. Like he was kind of the guy who was stirring the drink for them. And he was not supposed to be that guy. It was supposed to be Nick Smith. He was supposed to be a role player, but the roles interestingly reversed. And like he led a good Arkansas team to a deep, tournament run, and they were good like throughout the season. And I'm like, and he kind of does a bit of everything. Like he kind of does a bit of everything, but he's not a lead at any one thing. He's not a really good shooter, but he lives at the free throw line, gets to the rim all the time. It's like, who plays like that in the NBA, Brad? Jimmy Butler.
Oh no!
And I was like, wait a minute.
I didn't see that coming at all. I was, all
right. I didn't see it either. I'm like, but like just at that size to consistently get to the rim, and it's tough to compare anybody to Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler is such a unique basketball player
who also went 30th for a reason too.
30th for a reason because he couldn't shoot. He couldn't. He was also older.
He was.
He had some other stuff, but like to me, I'm like, just in terms of, I really like Anthony Black's ability to do whatever it took. He's just like, to me, he's just a winner. Like he's just a winner, and I like his physical profile, and I like the tools that he has. Now he's not going to be Jimmy Butler, but he kind of reminded me of kind of how Jimmy plays. Because like Jimmy's not even a high level scorer either. Like he's kind of, he just turns it on when he needs to, and he puts pressure on teams in a unique way with his ability to get to the free throw line. It remains to be seen if Anthony Black can reproduce what he did at Arkansas in terms of his free throw rate. But like, I mean, his free throw rate's really good, and like the amount of rim pressure plus his passing at his size, like plus his defense, like that really intrigues me. Like that's the guy. Like if I'm the Hawks, I'm trading a starter. It unfortunately won't be DeAndre Hunter because like teams aren't dumb. So like unfortunately it's gonna cost way more than that, and it probably costs too much to get up to where you need to do to get Anthony Black. But like that's the guy that I really like. I like him a lot more than probably than consensus. I don't know if I like him more than the Thompson twins, either of them, but like I feel like he's closer to that class to me than he is to the Case and Wallace class, even though I really like Case and Wallace. Like if Case and Wallace fell to 15, it's a wrap. It's a wrap in the draft. Don't have to think about anything else. Just take them and move on with the 46th or 48th pick, whatever they have. But yeah, no, I'm super high on AB.
Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. It's very easy to be confident in everything everyone needs from you all the time and never take a moment to actually think about what you need from yourself. I'm guilty of this for sure in the midst of juggling all kinds of things and a million different work commitments, family commitments, etc. We spend all the time giving. It can sometimes leave us stretched pretty thin or even burned out. Therapy can give you the tools that you need to find more balance in your life, and part of that is being able to support others without actually leaving yourself behind. Therapy is exceptionally helpful when it comes to learning coping skills or even setting boundaries. It can also simply be the best version of your possible self. And if you thought about starting therapy at any point, I recommend starting with BetterHelp and giving it a try today. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire, and they will match you with a licensed therapist right now. If you ever want to switch therapists as well, you can do so with absolutely no charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. With BetterHelp, you can also visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get a 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time, betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. As far as Anthony Black's concerned, I'm with you. He's a guy I've liked the entire way. He's been firmly in my top 10. If you're trading up, that's the kind of bet I think you want to take. This is not, you don't want to think about it this way, but there are multiple ways for him to work. If he shoots, he's going to be really, really, really good. I feel like if he doesn't, there's enough other stuff. Like you mentioned, the way he puts pressure on the rim, his size, his defense, which you didn't even talk about a lot. Like I think he's really good defensively already. Good feel for the game, good passing. Like he's kind of built for me to like him quite a bit. On that front. And again, it's going to be a trade. I can't see something, barring a medical or something weird. He's not falling to Atlanta, but I'm with you. I like the idea of trading up for him more than most guys that you have to trade up for in this class. I think that makes sense. Also with the Hawks personnel, like I think he can play with Trey, which I think would be really interesting.
He can play, like the thing with me also with Anthony Black is like he can play with Trey and DeJounte because you can get, like he doesn't have the long wingspan, but he's bulky. Like he's over 200 as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, it's like 8'6" range. Like he's got wing size. He's wing size. He's not huge, but
but he's a wing that can dribble and pass and get to the rim. Like that's something that this Hawks team just like. If Bogey kind of is currently the only guy, and like AJ's developed. Like I said, AJ's developing. He's getting there. Bogey. It's just tough to rely on Bogdanović for over 20 minutes a game at this stage.
And he's also, we said this before about just the team itself. Bogey was by far their third best ball handler creator on the roster this last year. And that's a limitation. Like when Bogey's got it, it's fine. But you're right. I mean, AJ, I assume, and I think you do too, that as the years go on, AJ will get more and more responsibility with the ball in his hands. That makes a lot of sense. But in the meantime, like it kind of is. Especially if they don't plan on bringing in a point guard, which we'll save that for later. If they don't want to bring in another backup guy, because I know you want that. But if they don't do it and they kind of go in with the DeJounte plan again, having another guy who can handle the ball some is very useful for the future.
And crucially, just one last point: like the Hawks just had no ability to play Trey, DeJounte, and Bogey on the floor at the same time, and that kind of that kind of killed them. Like that killed them in the playoffs. It really did. Like
and they'll try it every once in a while, but I mean that's the thing with the way that Murray was defending this year and the way that Bogey I think is going to defend for the rest of his career at this point probably. Plus Trey, like you just can't. There's nothing that you can do with that group defensively. So I'm with you on that. You mentioned Cason Wallace. I'm with you. He's been. I describe it as like one of my best case scenarios at 15. I think he might actually get there. I don't know if he's going to, but he might. The pitch there, basically, and you can add what you want here, is basically he's a combo guard. He has maybe the ability long term to play a little point guard, combo guard size, but big guard, physical, long, and then it's defense, point of attack defense. Like he's really good there.
Defense.
That's the primary appeal of Wallace, and maybe a sprinkling of the Kentucky guard thing where maybe he was underutilized or weirdly utilized at Kentucky. Anything else you like about him, generally speaking, or is that kind of the pitch?
I think he can shoot it. I know the numbers didn't show it, but I feel like whereas Anthony Black, like that's a legitimate concern because Anthony Black could just end up being Justice Winslow. Like that, there is that downside with him. And Winslow was more hampered by injuries than actual play. But Cason, I think he can actually shoot it. And I think he'd be really good in a support role, playing off of Trey, playing off of DeJounte. I don't know about the upside though. Like I don't see the upside scoring, where Drew Holiday is such a physical offensive player. Like he really punishes like weak defenders, like taking them to the rack. Like that's going to take some time for Kaysen to get there. I don't know if he can because like Drew's still an elite athlete. So I don't know if Kaysen's that good of an athlete, but like I like you just like the profile, and you want to bet that if he gets to play alongside like a high-end creator like Trey, like he can figure some stuff out on the offense end. Because the defense, I'm confident like he won't come into the league like dominant defensive player, but like he's got the upside to be one of the better perimeter defenders in the game. So like, and if you can get that at 15 plus good shooting, good decision making, like that's the dream. Like that's the dream scenario. Like
it's a good one. Guy. Yeah, and I agree with you, and it helps to have Trey. I mean, what I don't want for Kaysen is to have him go somewhere where they think he's going to be like the guy at point guard, because like in Atlanta, he doesn't need to be that. You're playing alongside Trey. You might be able to run second units eventually, but he'll never be tasked with being the primary. That's my concern with him, is that he can't be that. But that's fine. You don't need him to be in Atlanta. That's why it works in a big way. I'm a big fan of that. The other guy that I have circled as my again semi-realistic best case is Grady Dick, who seems to be kind of falling a little bit.
That's interesting.
And I don't think he's gonna. Honestly, it's Monday night. I would guess he's not available at 15, but he could be. He's in the AJ, like could get there class. He's not as good of a prospect as AJ, but Grady Dick is maybe the best shooter in the draft, and like isn't a zero on defense and has pedigree, and like it's kind of I don't want to say it's boring. Chris Murray is boring. Grady Dick is not like boring, but it really is a pretty simple evaluation. Like as long as he can defend enough, the shooting and the off-ball movement, a little bit of juice on the ball, like it's he's pretty plug and play in some ways. Long-term, not short-term, because again, short-term is what it is. But I like Grady Dick. Like I think Wallace and Grady Dick in some order is my like best case scenario mini tier.
I really wish Grady would change his name, by the way. But like
there's a couple of those guys. There was you remember that draft class that had David Duke in it, and I I was like, what are we doing here, man?
Yeah, Grady. Grady Richards. It's not that big a deal. But like I really like his game just because every team needs shooting, and he's big. Like he's legit. Like what 6'7", 6'8".
Big shooters. I mean, there's a few. By the way, he's not the only one. There's guys like that up and down this group, which is what you're talking about earlier about the wings. I think I'm looking at it right now. He measured, 6'6" without shoes, so probably close to 6'8" with shoes.
Yeah, and like he plays like he. I like the way he cuts to the rim and seeks out contact to finish at the rim. That's something that Kevin Huerter is always because white player comparison, unfortunately.
Tyler, I will tell you this right now. I was going to say, if they draft him, it's going to be a flood of Kevin Huerter comparisons for Grady Dick. A flood. It's never going to stop.
Man, it's not going to stop.
It will never stop.
I would understand. I understand it. I do understand it at certain points. I think Grady might be a better athlete, whereas Kevin's just a better ball handler, better processor, like better secondary playmaker.
Yeah.
I don't think Grady's that, but I think Grady's like has more explosive scoring upside, if that makes sense. If it all clicks for him. Like I think he has the athleticism to where, if you're overcrowding him, he can cut back door and finish through contact and get to the free throw line in ways that Huerter couldn't in Atlanta. Granted, he did it in Sacramento because, they ran a real offense in Sacramento. So it's pretty tough.
I look forward to every Grady Dick comparison if that were to happen. It's plausible.
The Kyle Korver comparisons are right there. I don't think
that'll be another one. And I said before, he's not the only shooter. Like there's the big shooter group, which I think Jet Howard is in. He's kind of the same size as Grady Dick. 6'7", 6'8". He's really
Brad. If Jet Howard could defend, it's
bad. It's bad. Today's show is brought to you by Ibotta. We're always throwing money at something: school supplies for kids, new house projects, the list goes on and on. It's time to spend that hard-earned money on something else that actually brings something back to you in return, and that means Ibotta. You can earn cash back on every single shopping trip that you do. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items across the board. You link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop and get your cash back. It's just that easy. The average user with Ibotta earns $120 per year in real cash back. That covers a lot of different things: shopping trips, or maybe even just cashing out to purchase travel or go to a game, etc. Have a fun night out. All kinds of options with Ibotta, and you get real cash back, not points. Other apps actually go with points, and with Ibotta, you get the real cash back. You actually track it in real time as well. You can earn cash back on hundreds of different online brands and retailers as well. When you start with Ibotta, that includes places like Lowe's and Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. And right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the promo code LOCKED when you register. Go to the App Store or Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app right now, and use that promo code LOCKED. That is IBOTTA in Google Play or App Store, and use that promo code LOCKED. Check out Ibotta today. I don't know if it makes me higher or lower on him than I watched him so much at Michigan. It is what it is, but big shooter is a good selling point regardless. Like, I think defensively it's kind of a mess, which makes me a little bit lower on him in general, but it'd be reasonable. Like, the big shooting thing, and he's got the on-ball, a little bit of on-ball chops. You have Jordan Hawkins is not big, but he's a great shooter.
Hawkins, yeah, great
shooter. More of a JJ. The comp I used with Ben was JJ Redick on Jordan Hawkins. That's like more of the off-ball stuff. It's like he's a really good off-ball mover. Better athlete than JJ. I'll give him that. But
the 3 minutes that I watched of that Kentucky championship run, the Rip Hamilton, like, just constantly moving on the baseline, like that's kind of his game, which would add a different element that the Hawks. Well, they have it a bit with Bogey, but like Bogey's kind of different, but like they don't really have that where you have somebody holding the ball waiting for Jordan to get open. Like that's just an element the Hawks don't have, and it's kind of a way to generate easy points in the Duncan Robinson mode. But like, yeah, I wish you were bigger. Like,
me too.
It's tough. It's just tough with Trey. Like, and we're already.
I think Jet and Jordan Hawkins both in different ways, but their defensive limitations.
I'd be okay with Jet just because he's bigger.
He's bigger.
Like, you can get away with it.
I agree.
And he's young, and like, maybe pedigree will get him to some level defensively, but it's
I would have Jet ahead of Jordan for the Hawks in particular. I would like Jet Howard more. But yeah, that's kind of the shooter first group. Then you have Chris Murray. I'm sure you're not surprised. I like Chris Murray quite a bit. He's kind of boring. He's not.
I like his brother. I like his brother, so I like him.
Yeah, and it kind of goes on the other side. I don't think he'd be an upside pick. So there's that. But at 15, it's different than if you're trading up for somebody, which they wouldn't be doing for Chris Murray, I don't think. And like, speaking of size, like he measured 6'8" with an 8'10" standing reach. Like he's big, man. Huge. So yeah, he could play the 4, you would think.
Yeah. The only downside with Chris Murray goes back to our topic of the rookie that the drafting is not going to play, and he's already old.
Yeah.
So it's like you're going to take an older rookie that's not going to play.
If there is one, I will say, if there is one guy that the Hawks, if you said, okay, this is not how anyone should draft, but if you said, okay, for this exercise, I care about one thing, and it's that this guy has to play 20 minutes a game for me next year, I'd pick
Chris Murray's the guy. Yeah. I'll say this. 15, I think, might be a little pushing it with Chris Murray, even though
it's right.
Even though I don't think it's weird. It's just like talent-wise, I actually don't think he's that much different than these other guys, even though he's older. But like if the Hawks were to move back, he's there at 21 and they take him, I got no problems with that. That'd be a perfect pick.
That would be, I would agree. That's perfect scenario is trade down for him. I would take him at 15, be fine with it. But there's that. Bilal's gonna be long gone. So yeah, everybody else, I guess maybe you throw Max Lewis in this group or Bryce Sensabaugh. I don't know. On the wings. I mean,
I'll just say the one thing about Maxwell Lewis is like, if he's this talented, why was he bad at Pepperdine?
Yeah. So. Yeah, he was pretty good in the first couple months, and then he really, really, really had a bad second half of the season. And yeah, I don't think he was particularly effective. Like he was, the way that I would explain it, if I was trying to spin it positively, would be that he was the guy at Pepperdine, and he will not be the guy in the NBA. So maybe that helps. But it's still Pepperdine.
But
you would think that an NBA top 20 pick would be able to play better than he did at Pepperdine.
And here's another thing. It's like, okay, you're a 4-star. You go play for Pepperdine. You're meh. Like, will he the Cam Reddish, I feel, is a little strong. Like, let me put it that way. You know what I'm talking about with Cam Reddish, where it's like, I want to be the guy. Like, I got all the tools in the toolbox, and like everybody knows it. And I'm a dominant workout player. So, like, I'm just going to take bad shots all the time for a Hawks team. That's the one you cannot. There's only one basketball player on this team that can take bad shots, folks.
Number 11 is allowed to do that.
He makes the max money. Everybody else got to feed what he give them. I hate to be that person. That's reality.
It's probably true. No, you're right, and I think that's and also. I think even more so than it's too high for me. I wouldn't take him at 15. It's just too much. Yeah. If you trade down, it's fine. Just value. I'm never like
if they were going to trade down to 21, 22 to take them, yeah.
And you have 2 bets, sure, because the upside there is pretty interesting. The other group is kind of the combo guardy group of guys. I'll throw the names out, and you can tell me who you like and who you don't. This is in no order, but you have Kobe Buffkin, you have Jalen Hood-Schifino, you have Nick Smith, Keontae George. I think those 4 guys are like the combo guard group. Do you like any of them?
I have no opinion about Keontae George. I've seen him play. I'm like, it could work, it couldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it in Atlanta at 15.
I'm not interested at him. And I don't think he's not talented. I don't know about him. I don't know how it's going to work in Atlanta. Put it that way.
I'm with you.
And Jalen Hood-Schifino, like.
By the way, a guy sneakily, a guy who's like maybe going to go in the lottery now. Like, there's lots of intel buzz on Hood-Schifino being gone before the Hawks even pick. Just for the record.
It could be one of those things where teams have more information than we do, but like he was quite bad at Indiana. Granted, he played for Mike Woodson. I understand.
You know it's more than everyone else does. Yeah, I had that conversation on a podcast. I was like, guys, did anybody watch Mike Woodson coach the Hawks or maybe the Knicks? And then you throw in playing with 2 bigs at all times in the Big Ten. So like, I get the excuses and I'll make them. I kind of like Jalen Hood-Schifino more than I normally would for a guy who was as not efficient as he was in college. But yeah, the combination of him, I think he might be gone, which again, I'm not saying that's right. I think he might be gone, and not my favorite.
I mean, I can see it just because he's big, like he's huge. He's point guard,
big and talented. Yeah,
6'10" wingspan, over 200 pounds. Like, the theory of the case is there, but it's like, to me, I'm like, is the touch there? Is the passing acumen actually there, or is it more usage that he had at Indiana that kind of increased his numbers? Like
okay. Before I forget. There was a time in this cycle where you were insisting to me that Nick Smith was going to be the pick at 15.
Nick Smith is probably still going to be the pick. I mean, let's be real here. Come on. Like,
okay,
I don't know what we're doing. I
know why you say that.
I'm talking about all these dudes.
Why are you saying?
We talking about all these guys because he was the former top 5 guy in the Hawks. I mean, for better recently. The Hawks do draft on high school pedigree. They did it with Cam Reddish.
Now, I will say, this is not the same front office. I'll just throw it out there. Not the same front office.
It's not, but it's the same guys. And like, you get Nick Smith in a workout, like he's probably going to look really good. And like, I like him. I like him just as an aside.
He's a very talented guy. He's 6'5". He can really score. He's got. You talking about having a bag? Nick Smith has a very
he's got the quote unquote bag, and like with again like. To me, there's no guarantee DeJounte is going to be on this team after this season. So, like,
that is correct.
Being like, well, we can't draft him because we got DeJounte and Trey. Like, we can't account for like what the future holds. If I feel like he's the most talented guy there at 15, I just take him. And like, I still like the talent. He didn't show it as much. Like, he wasn't productive for a good Arkansas team. They really needed him. That Arkansas team probably could if Nick Smith was as good as what we thought he was going to be coming out of high school, I think that Arkansas team makes a run for the title, because they were super talented, but like he kind of just fell flat a bit. But to me, the talent is there, and he was hurt all year, so who knows? Like I don't know. I really like him, but the Hawks are going to take him. Like if he's there at 15, he's just going to take him. Anything about it. And like, fans gonna be like, but they could have drafted Cason Wallace. Like Cason Wallace wasn't on Hoop Mixtape, saucing dudes up in high school.
The other guy that's like that, and I've joked about it plenty, but is Dereck Whitehead, who's not a combo guard. He's a wing, but he's the complete question mark health guy in this class. But a former top 5 pick, top 5 prospect, went to Duke. All the parallels are there. From what I can glean, the medical is okay, but I don't know that for sure. I don't know. And if you watch the tape at Duke, he wasn't particularly awesome. Like I don't think he was healthy, which is part of the problem. But he's the other like total wild card. If they're going back to high school, like they would be on Nick Smith, Whitehead would be almost better. Like he was right up there too.
The thing that concerns me about Dereck Whitehead, it also it doesn't concern me with AJ, because I think he's growing out of it. But like with AJ, he showed that he doesn't need his athleticism to be a good basketball player. Whereas with Dereck, I feel like that athleticism is a core tenet of his game. And if he doesn't have that, like, can he fall back on his other tools? Like, he is a good shooter.
I don't think
he wasn't like the offensive, like AJ Griffin was legitimately a great offensive player for a Duke team that desperately needed his shot.
And AJ's skill set is at a better level. I think Dereck Whitehead Dereck Whitehead needs to be athletic, and I think you saw that this year in college. I mean, AJ was different than he will be eventually in college. He played a smaller role at Duke in some ways, but he made shots, and the touches, outlier.
I mean, AJ has outlier great touch, and I don't think Dereck has that. And that's what that might because like AJ's still working the athleticism back. Like it's going to take time for AJ to trust his body in order to go up and be physical. Dereck, especially young guys with lower body injuries. Like, I mean, honestly, we see it with DeAndre Hunter, Brad. I don't think since the knee injury, DeAndre Hunter's played with the level of force and physicality.
No, he hasn't been as
on either end of the floor since that knee injury. So, like,
that's fair.
There's no guarantee it comes back, and it might be more mental than anything else. So I'm not down on. Again, Dereck is another guy. If you trade back, he's there at 21, 22.
It's more of a
think about
more risky. But if you have more picks, then I'm with you. I think on that one. Before we get out of here, and I have to escape. But
sorry.
Anybody we haven't talked about yet that you want to talk about that you like?
You mentioned Kobe Bumpkin.
Yeah, another guy. I'm gonna say another guy's gonna be gone. I think.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be there, but I think he's like the difference between him and a lot of these guys. He was actually good in college. A rarity.
He was
for a guard, especially for a guard.
Like, and he was really a 2-year guy at Michigan, but he is the same age as all of these run and done guys. He's a very, very young sophomore.
So if he's there at 15, I like him more than Nick Smith. I like for that guard group. I like him about as much. Like to me, he's in the same class as a Cason Wallace or Grady Dick if they fall. Like if Buffkin's there, you just take him at 15. You don't even think about it.
I wanted you to say that because he's a Michigan guy. I'm not like in the bag for Michigan. I mean, I am a Michigan fan, but I'm not like blindly in the bag for these guys. Jed especially was maddening this year.
You're blindly in the bag for these Fab Five guys.
That's true. 100% about that. That's
you're in the bag. You're in the bag for Jet Howard's dad.
That's fine. I've certainly raised my hand and admit that, even though you're wrong about the Fab Five all the time. Moving on. Thank you, Tyler, for being here. We will do this again after the draft, after they make a trade or something, maybe, or
after
some picks
when they make some trades and they picks and
so
we tried to tell y'all about the cost cutting.
We will probably say something like that in the near future, but I will beg you to come back on in the near future. In the meantime, give me your anime minute, and then where can people find you on the on social media places? There's always something. If there isn't, that's fine.
Wow, I wasn't weirdly, I wasn't prepared for the anime.
Wow, you knew it was coming. Come on, we had days here.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching so many things. Like the thing is, I'm watching everything. And it's hard to like pinpoint.
I understand.
If you want to like a nice show, like if you're an anime fan, you just want something to like up your mood and like have a more positive outlook on life. Skip and Loafer, which is kind of it's just like a slice of life, high school romance. It's very uplifting. Like it's like you feel good after every episode type of show. So like if you want that, after this Hawk season where you gotta get the demons out. Like that's a good show to watch. It's pretty wholesome. That's a recommendation.
I'm in on that. All right, there you have it. Follow Tyler if he lets you on Twitter at Jonesy2X4.
Not my fault.
He may not let you, but you can try. He may let you, or he may not. We'll have more. I'll have at least one more podcast. It might be two, might be more. I don't know. At least one more before the draft. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to this podcast. Thank you again, Tyler. I appreciate it. As for everybody else, we'll see you all next time.